sometimes we don't win. Don't give us the break. Don't give us your stink eye. We try our best and we're successful. Come watch our show. Every responses. It's time to start. Enjoy the show.
Well, a very good day to one and all. Welcome along to Betting Weekly Live. You're with myself, Dan Roebuck, and alongside me, jigging away, Jack Wright. Jack, how are you?
Yeah, I think that's probably my favourite one, to be honest. I'm very well, though. Yeah, how are you?
I'm not too bad. How was your betting weekend? I think
Yeah,
you were profitable for the Premier League show, were you not?
Yeah, I nicked a couple of dollars. Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I was a bit unfortunate. I had overs in the Chelsea game at Brighton, didn't I?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
there should have been. I think there should have been 4 goals in there. A couple of bad misses, and Chelsea didn't really come to the party at all, did they? But we got a push. So if you don't win, don't lose, as they say.
That'll do.
And then the boys and Bournemouth did me proud, didn't they? But obviously the big shock for us all was that Manchester City result. Which,
I don't know what to make about that at all. City can still do that, can't they? That's the thing. Let us know what you're betting in the comments. Myself and Jack are going to be talking our way through 3 games tonight. Big games as well. One in the English second tier, obviously Championship football, but also a big game in Spain. One not so big in Italy, I guess. We're just going to give you a look at what's going on in terms of the futures for the Premier League first and foremost. Get to that in a second, but an awful lot of betting over the weekend, and just 1 or 2 things to recap and talk about. We always get the big bets and the trades from our friends at Bet Rivers, from Troy, Max, and everyone. And these are some of the notable winners and losers. We're going to kick off here, and we had bets in the 4 Nations ice hockey tournament, and one of the games has made the news worldwide. United States against Canada, $24,645 play on the States at plus 165 on the money line. So they weren't favourites against Canada. Obviously, the United States won 3-1, but the game was infamous for the first about 15 seconds, Jack, when there was fights galore here. And we were just speaking to
I heard Nigel was on under 2.5 fights in that one. He's lost on the unders again.
He was lost on the. I mean, we were just speaking to our friends at Bet Rivers. Say it doesn't really happen in international hockey, but there's a lot going on between the United States and Canada at the moment, isn't there? So I'm trying to think what the equivalent from a sort of British point of view is, and I'm not quite so sure. You know, have England got sort of friendly neighbours? Generally not. Whenever England play football, everybody hates England. It's a difficult one, isn't it, Jack, to see what the equivalent might be?
I guess it'd be rugby union, wouldn't it? 4 nations there, but possibly a little bit of
friends that became enemies, but for whatever reason, for some sort of trade.
It was funny. I was listening to Lawrence Delalio. It's easy for me to say. A couple of weeks ago, he was talking about obviously the rivalry amongst the home nations then, but then they all go away on tour with the Lions, and
and they play for the same team.
So, quite tricky. Yeah.
Also, Sweden on the money line, plus 110 against Finland, which was a loser. Finland won that in overtime, a $23,000 play. Lots of big bets on the college basketball at the moment. We had an $18,000 play on Oregon Rutgers over 153.5 points. That was a loser, only 132 points in that one. And Auburn against Alabama, which was a winner, an $11,000 play on the money line there. PGA Tour Golf. I don't know if this was Simon Holden or not. Simon, if you're watching today, was it your good self that had $1,500 on Ludwig Aberg to win the Genesis Invitational at Torrey Pines, a 25-1 winner? Last day 66, 4 birdies. The last 6 holes meant that he beat Mav McNeely to claim that title. Simon, was that your money down? And when it comes to the soccer over the course of the weekend, and Jack, I'll get your thoughts on some of these as we go. $20,000 play on Liverpool on the money line, minus 312 against Wolves. You'd be sweating a little bit towards the end, wouldn't you, with that one?
Yeah, you definitely would. Yeah, that was a sweat on, wasn't it? So it looked quite cosy, didn't it, for the first half hour or so, and put the disallowed goal, the penalty that wasn't. And but then after that, it was squeaky bum time, as they say.
Spurs against Manchester United, over 1.5 total goals, minus 455. That didn't cash. That was a $14,000 play. Now then, Jack, you should have taken a leaf out of one of our Bet Rivers betters books here. $15,000 play, Brighton versus Chelsea on one of the goal lines, but it was over 2.75 on the Asian total. Maybe that's the way that you should have gone. Minus 147.
Should have done. Yeah, should have done. Absolutely.
$10,000 play on Jean-Philippe Mateta to score Everton versus Palace, which is a winner for Palace.
Ooh.
Obviously, Everton didn't win the game, plus 230. And Serhou Guirassy to score in the Bochum Dortmund game for Dortmund at plus 123. $10,000 play. That was a loser. I mean, Bochum, that game went unders. I've got no idea how, but there you go. We are showing on the Bet Rivers app and the Bet Rivers website the Barcelona Rayo game tonight. Also live streams. Almeria against Elche in Spain. That's the second tier. Gil Vicente against Famalicão in the Portuguese top flight. Leeds Sunderland will be shown. We're going to get Jack's thoughts on that one shortly in the EFL Championship. Annecy against Caen in Ligue 2. And also the tennis is being showed as well. Lots of good tennis comment from Nigel, from Rory, from Sean as well. That's out that you can have a look at. WTA in Dubai and the ATP Tour in Dubai and in Doha. Now, in terms of the title race, obviously wins for both Liverpool and Arsenal, Jack. Liverpool are minus 400, Arsenal minus 335. I mean, we just mentioned that Liverpool game. Is the pressure getting to them a little bit? I mean, they still won. They're still, clear. They play Villa, of course, in midweek. Is there any way back here? Obviously, we got minus 335 there for Arsenal. Should be plus 335. But look, is it still done and dusted? I think it's only Newcastle, isn't it, that have thrown away as big as lead of Liverpool have got with, 15 games remaining, whatever we've got?
Yeah, I think 13 in it. I think what Liverpool have got that the other sides really haven't got, I guess, well, certainly Arsenal, is that ability to get match winners off the bench, to impact it from there. They've got that ability to rotate that strike force. Obviously, Salah's the constant in it, but Diaz played well yesterday, certainly in the early stages of it. You've got a different option if you want to bring Núñez off the bench. Jota obviously came on as well, and Gakpo wasn't even used, and obviously he's been in red hot form up until now. So they've got enough about them to go and get the job done. And yeah, they weren't pretty, were they? Certainly towards the latter stages of that game yesterday. It got a little bit scruffy for them, but ultimately they won, and that's all it comes down to. When the record books say they won the title at the end of the season, it won't go into the details of how they edged past Wolves 2-1.
Just looking at some of the games that are still left here. I mean, Liverpool haven't got a great record against the current top 8. They've played 9, won 4, drawn 4, lost 1. Arsenal against the top 8, won 2, drawn 4, lost 2. So not great either. I mean, it's just difficult to see someone coming from off the pace. I mean, Arsenal, it's the problems with strikers. I mean, Mikel Merino came on and played as an auxiliary striker later on, got the 2 goals. But if they stick with him, that's going to be an issue for them. They didn't grab anyone in the transfer market. And the bench looked pretty light to me at the weekend in that game against Leicester. And Liverpool really, I think their injuries have been minimal, haven't they, really? It's such a difficult situation, both through to the round of 16, of course, in the Champions League, the draw of which is later on this week. I just, you want to see Arsenal go on a run to make it competitive, but in terms of what they've got left and the firepower they've got, I think they're going to come up short.
I think they'll come up short. We mentioned it on the show last week, didn't we? The fact that it's a little bit under the radar how Arsenal are unbeaten in 15 games now. Yeah. So they are kind of doing what they need to do to a certain extent. Right, there's a few draws in there they should have won probably, but they're just waiting for Liverpool to slip up. And at the moment, Liverpool aren't really doing it. Yeah, they dropped a couple of points against Everton, but so they got the job done against Wolves. Massive game for a midweek against Villa. They've gone from playing one game less to would be then one game more, which can be a big swing if they don't get a good result there. But then possibly a good time to be playing Villa, because they're not looking that great at the moment either, are they? They're wobbling to a certain extent, but they can lift themselves, especially with that Villa Park crowd. They can lift themselves for the bigger sides, as we've seen, especially last season.
What do you make the top four situation, Jack? Here you got City there at -335 off the back of that big win. Forest are still +175, even though they were beaten at the weekend. Bournemouth +350. Can we make a case for Bournemouth here? Chelsea are evens, even though they were beaten and were pretty disappointing. Are they vulnerable? Newcastle +275 here. I mean, it looks like Liverpool and Arsenal will get top four. I mean, City are coming with a bit of a rattle, maybe. Is there any value when you look at some of those teams for a top four finish? I mean, I look at Bournemouth and I'm thinking, could they maybe sneak a top four here at a price at +350?
That would be my pick, Dan, actually, to be perfectly honest. I think that's where the value is. I'd lay Chelsea. I'd be happy to lay Chelsea at +100 for a top four finish, and go with the mighty Cherries. So I think that look, I'd have them a little bit shorter than that. Bournemouth, to be honest with you, they've played very, very well. What I'd say about them is that you look across the season so far. We've talked about them. When are they going to end? But they've played some of the best sides in the league, and they've done very well, and they've won those games. They've had injury problems. 2 strikers out. Yeah. They've gone on and improved and scored more goals in their absence. They've found a way to win. And you look at the run-in. I had a quick look through, as you've done there, with the fixtures for Bournemouth coming up. And I'd say looking on paper, they've got probably the third easiest run-in of all the sides.
Definitely.
They don't play a side in the top 7 till the final 4 games of the season. And then once you get to the final 4 games of the season, there are other issues to take into account. You're looking at Arsenal away as that 4th from last game. Are Arsenal out of the league title race by then? Are they going to be concentrating on the Champions League at that point in time? You've got Manchester City, could be in the same situation. They've got the penultimate game of the season, and Villa in between those two as well. And the last game is Leicester at home. So, up until that point in time, they've got a lot of very winnable games. And as I say, you've got to say fair play to what they did last season. Iraola was under severe pressure at the start of last season where he couldn't buy a win. And they kept the faith with him, possibly because of the situation of the league table at that point in time, but done exceptionally well. And it's come to fruition that they've absolutely kicked on this season and are performing exceptionally well. So yeah, I'd make them a little bit shorter than that, and therefore out of those picks in there, it'd probably be a toss up between them and Nottingham Forest as far as where my money would go. If I had a bet on that, so I think we touched on it, or you did in the show last week, that a name is enough to kind of put people off putting your money on it. If there was someone else in those positions and in that kind of form, you'd probably be more inclined to put the money on, and they probably wouldn't even be that price.
Yeah, I'm going to back them this week. I'm going to bet them for top 4 +350. All those reasons you were suggesting there, I think they're a really solid. I mean, they're -139 for top 6. And Fulham at 8-1 top 6. I don't think are the worst bet as well. I mean, they've got a really good record. They've got more points against the top 7 than the bottom 7 this season. I mean, they're an incredible team when they play the good teams, as we've seen.
I think that the bet out of those prices for top 6 +800 stands out. Sorry, Fulham fans, because every time I go and side with you, I seem to get it wrong, and every time I go against you, you do well. So maybe for your sake, I'll go elsewhere. But you fancy Spurs at 40-1 to make a late charge, get the players back? And no,
absolutely not. A very good day to everybody who's tuned in. Paul, first up, good morning. Happy President's Day, betters. Ming says, good day to both Dan and Jack. Ming says, our City back? Jack, do you think City are back? We keep thinking when they have one good result, we're thinking about, are they back?
This week they are, aren't they?
This week they are. Duncan said some good hits on the Euro show this week. Nigel was saying, yeah, Nigel here. I was on the under half a points on the Rugby League Wigan Lee. Malonga says, hi guys, this weekend was awesome. Just disappointed with Luis Enrique for rotating the PSG squad. Nigel says that Simon was on McNeely at the start of 51. He gave it on his YouTube channel, did he now? Paul, are going to talk about the Barcelona special. We'll get to that shortly. Reece, Liverpool's next 3 incredibly tough. This is true because it's Villa, then it's City, isn't it, at the Etihad? Yeah. So that's not going to be easy for them. Ming says, Jack, are you a Bournemouth fan?
I was at the weekend.
Yeah, he was at the weekend. You should know. We talk about Jack's team all the time. Talking about big winners, big losers, Zach says, Swiatek lost me 1,200 on a parlay not winning in Doha. Oh, that is a shame. Hopefully the boys can get you back for that. Jake says, Bournemouth, incredible season. Paul, a point deduction soon. Have they got beyond all that deducted? Not. They've won their case, haven't they? City, Jack, you're usually across these things. I don't know.
They won it. They won one of them. They haven't gone through the 115 charges yet, have they? That's still to be.
All right. That'll take a bit.
Ongoing.
They've won one of the 115.
Yeah.
Chris says, once went to an ice hockey game. There was a lot of fighting. Then an ice hockey game broke out. This is true.
Yeah.
Jake says, are we discounting Villa top six? Jake's a Villa fan. Euroshows quality got me the 5-4. I am. Jake, do you think that Villa are going to get top six? I'm not so sure about that.
Yeah,
I think it's tough for Villa. But we'll see how they go in the Champions League.
so I think Villa could have other more important fixtures coming up that could sway them a little bit in the league. That would be that issue. If they go further in the Champions League and in the FA Cup, and I think Jake said their name's already on the FA Cup on our comment section. So you can only have so much, and I think Unai does like a little bit of a cup trophy in the cabinet come the end of the season, doesn't he?
Effie says Inter lost me a pretty penny. Yeah, me as well. I backed them in play. Jake says he'd take the FA Cup over the Premier League. No, you wouldn't, Jake. You just wouldn't. Come on. Not to win the Premier League, surely. But I understand what you're saying. Top four. Maybe FA Cup over top four. Bill says, do we like Leeds today? Let's talk about Leeds. Let's get some bets in. I'm determined to get everyone a sort of a betting weekly because we win community bet on a live show that I'm on. So if we can all agree on anything, that's on something today. That's myself, that's Jack, and that's the vast majority of the commenters. So if you want to get your picks in for the Leeds game, if they marry up with what Jack's going to give us here, or what we're going to talk about over the course of the 3 games here, let's get a community bet going for tonight that we can win with together. Hopefully not lose together, but we win and lose together. Right, Leeds. let's talk about this big game in the Championship here. Leeds are minus 230. They've been nibbled out a little bit here. A lot of people asking, should we bet Leeds here, Jack? The tie at plus 290. Sunderland at plus 525. Over and unders here. I looked at the over and I thought, surely it's got to be over goals. Leeds score loads, but their games are skewed a little bit with some big wins. Over is minus 124, under minus 105. Both teams to score, yes. Minus 112, yes. No. Minus 125. And then we've got some goal scorer plays there. I know you've not got a money line play as such, or indeed an overs and unders, but could you look at any of the major markets here, Jack, and think, yeah, I'll have a play at that one?
Nigel's just come and took the words out of my mouth, really. I've just seen in the comment there that I fancy Leeds to win, but not at that price. I wouldn't be taking them there. They're frightfully short. And I'd probably go against the tide as far as I'll see. Overs is minus 124. I thought unders was the favourite for this one. Leeds tend to win a lot of games to nil, hence why I think the unders is a very popular play normally, and why both teams score no is there at minus 125. But I think they win this. And my if I'm putting a score prediction out there, I'm looking at something like a 2-1, maybe a 3-1. I think Sunderland will give them a real go, and they've got some real talent in that lineup that could cause Leeds a few problems. But it should be a cracker to watch. It should be really exciting and entertaining. There'll be an amazing atmosphere there as well, which always helps. Sometimes you think a lower league game in England or anywhere in the world, and it could be a little bit flat, a little bit empty seats tonight. There probably won't be any empty seats there tonight. It will be an absolute raucous atmosphere. So one to watch as well tonight. So Leeds to win it, and say if I'm going with leans on the other two, I'd go overs, and I would go both teams to score in it.
Okay, so we got Paul saying overs and both teams to score around about plus 120. Bill says Leeds first half is even money to be leading early on. Jake says love Sunderland to get promoted, proper club. Leeds are now minus 200, so drifted a little bit here. Apparently they played their best football, didn't they, against Watford for quite some time, that 4-0 away win. I saw a lot of fans saying that there was some really good football. I mean, they've won the last 3 in the Championship. They won 5 out of the last 6-0. They're unbeaten in 14 in the second tier since that defeat to Blackburn. I mean, this was the game, Jack, that Meslier, and I don't know if we've got Melier's goalkeeping coach who usually comes on, whoever that may be.
Yeah,
since then, well, I was looking at the stat, and he made that howler, didn't he, up in the stadium, like where it bounced towards him, and he got it all wrong. And it ended. I think that ended up being a draw, didn't it, that game? Since then, the stat is 15 clean sheets in 23. I mean, can we get excited about Leeds and 2-0? What's Leeds and 2-0? Plus 120-ish? Something like that. Plus 123 Leeds 2-0. I mean, do you see clean sheet or not? You're thinking Sunderland can score, aren't you? Because they've got a bit of talent in their ranks.
They have. They've got a bit some magic dust they've brought in just recently, haven't they? Someone you probably know better than I would, up until very recently times. They haven't been in Ligue 1 and also in Serie A, although it hasn't really worked out for him there. And I think in Isidore as well, they've got a striker up top who is one of the best in the league. and give him a chance or two, and he will take it. So I think they've got confidence going for him as well. Regis Labrise has done a superb job there. So I wouldn't. Yeah, I've tipped and I've backed Leeds to nil a lot this season, and it's been very, very profitable. But not saying it can't happen tonight, but it's certainly one I wouldn't get involved in it.
You're concerned to a certain extent because there's a player that you like. I mean, you sort of briefly, I don't know if you mentioned his name, but you signposted it here. Who's this player that might do a little bit of damage for us? Tell us your play.
Yes, Enzo Lefebvre, if that's the right. Is that meet with
I'll
your
go for
pronunciation?
I'll go for Lefebvre. There's a little sort of inflection over one of the E's,
There
isn't there? So I'll go for that.
There is tricky. Yeah.
What's the bet?
It's him to have a shot on target. It's +215, which is a huge price for him. He's come in to this Sunderland side. It was a little bit of a coup, to say the least. He'd been signed by Roma for $25 million in the summer window. Brought him over from France, and there's been 3 managers there in that period of time that he was at the club. He picked up an injury as well. I think he only featured once. It was under Juric, wasn't it? Who's now at Southampton.
Yeah.
And then Ranieri came in, and I think it was a case of that he needed to solidify the side. He couldn't afford too many of this type of player. So I think he was disappointed to let him go, but kind of had to. And obviously he played with Regis Labrise previously. The phone call was made, and now he's in the Championship and showing that he's a cut above that level. Absolutely. So 6 games for Sunderland. He scored 1 goal, but he's had 11 shots across those games as well. 5 shots on target as well. And he's had at least 1 in 4 of his last 5. So he generally gets the full 90 minutes as well. So injury permitting, he will play the full game to give, full bang for your buck. And at that price, I think it's a huge, huge price for a player that is really showing his class at this level. He's definitely a cut above, and Sunderland have got an obligation to buy him if they get promoted, so he could be in the Premier League next season.
Yeah, look, he's a quality player. He's French under 21 of a few years ago. I don't know if he still qualifies. I'm quite sure how old he was, but played in some really good national teams as well. Steve's been on, says nearly every team comes to Ellen Road already beaten, offers nothing, but I expect Sunderland to have a go, probably score, but Leeds will have too much. 3-2. I mean, there's a lot of, I'm getting a sense for overs here. 3-2 for Leeds, says Steve, who is a Leeds fan, obviously. Evie says Sunderland will not sit back or play for a draw. Charlie says playing on the counter suits Sunderland's forwards. I'd be wary of 2-0 bets. People are persuading me away from the 2-0 then.
The thing is, Leeds have got the best possession, or the highest possession in the Championship, just about 60-61%. But Sunderland ranked 12th, so they're happy with that. They'll play to that game. As I said, they'll sit back, they'll look to hit on the counter-attack. It fits both sides' styles of play this game. It's a perfect match to see. Jayden Bogle's down his side as well. So that whoever wins that clash, he's been excellent for Leeds. Whoever wins that clash could end up resulting in the winner overall. So a bet I like is one from a fellow Leeds fan. It's not Steve, but a guy I'm very good friends with who goes to all their home games. And his standard bet is for Leeds to win most corners and the opposition to pick up more cards. And it lands very, very regularly. And a large part of that is down to the phenomenal corner record that Leeds have. I won't go into too much detail about it because I know a lot of the states that we're obviously talking to right now can't get onto the cards part of it. If anyone is looking at the corners angle, Leeds have won the corner count in all 19 of their Championship home games this season, which all 19 of their home games across all competitions this season. And an incredible stat under Daniel Farker, 43 of their 45 games under him at home, they have won the corner count. So a 1 draw and 1 loss in that. 39 of 40 league games is an incredible run. It's only Leicester, who won the title last season, actually won more corners than them in that particular game. 306 they've taken against 101, so 5.13. They're generally winning more corners than the opposition per game, averaging just over 7.5 and conceding 2.5 per game. So last season, different manager for Sunderland, admittedly, 13-2 on the corner count. So if you go most corners on the same game parlay in this one, if you want a different angle and something kind of a little bit different to cheer on, most corners for Leeds, most cards for Sunderland comes in at +115. And Leeds opponents in their home games this season have had more cards in 11 of 16. So 8 of the last 9 as well. So that's an interesting one. Referee Stuart Atwell. And so I think he's one that the Leeds faithful can get at. And I think that's a part of the reason why their opponents tend to pick up so many cards is because of their passionate home support.
What if we just want to do corners and we can't do cards? How can get it? Have we got to play the handicap? How do we play the corners, Jack? If we I know there's a lot of states that can't play the cards market. Is it got to be like we've got to give 3-4 corners away here, something like that?
Yeah, the corner handicap will be a way in. You can go for Leeds corners. I think the line is set at 6.5 for Leeds corners.
Oh, right, okay. So team
that is an
total.
option. Yeah, you can play that as an option. I'll quickly just double check on here now, see if I can find it for you. But yeah, certainly they are pretty prolific when it comes down to that. So certainly an angle that I would take. And you've got with a 3 handicap, it's minus 103 for Leeds.
Okay.
So obviously would need to get 4 or more corners. As I then said, they're averaging 5 or more corners more than their opponents. So if you went that line, that's plus 140. But,
all right. Well,
you can go in at minus.
Yeah, you persuaded me for that one. What else we got here? We got Nigel says 0-0. That was after Steve says 3-2. It will not be a 0-0. The detector. I don't know what you've done with that detector. And let's face it, when it was revealed to the world last week, it was the worst piece of equipment I've ever seen in my entire life.
It was the old version, to be fair. It was the old version that Paul is now in possession.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
the version on its way, isn't it? Straight from China. Chris says Leeds to score 2 or more goals. Gunnar says Leeds and over 1.5 at minus 107. I quite like that. That's the nice one. Ming says Leeds to win big. Clearly the best team in the championship. Corner handicap minus 2.5 at minus 130. If you want to go a little bit shorter.
Yeah.
And talking punting, which is our good friend Simon says, I lost my shirt on Maverick McNeely, lost the arse off his jacket. That's Leeds. We've just got 1 or 2 other bits and pieces on Leeds for you. In terms of where the money's been going here, 93% of the money and 94% of the tickets on Leeds. Over and under, 67% of the money's on under. So the shrewd plays on under. But most of the tickets are on over. It's always an interesting thing when they split that. And we've had a $500 play on Sunderland, under 3.5 shots on target at minus 164. Just before we leave the Leeds game here, obviously massive game next Monday, Jack. Sheffield United against Leeds at Bramall Lane. Because Leeds are looking to go back to the top of the table after the Blades were at the weekend. I mean, Leeds are minus 500 for the title. Sheffield United plus 500. I mean, it's, Blades are top at the minute, and if they win that game next week, I mean, are those prices right? Do you think Leeds should be that type of price, or do you think Sheffield United, who keep on winning late? I've got Burnley to go up, so I'm not happy about it, but they keep on winning late. Have they got a squeak, Sheffield?
Yeah, well, I'm on Leeds at plus 350 at the start of the season, so I'm biased, but yeah, they have. I think if you were betting now, that would be the option to go for. With the pressure that's on Leeds, then there is that chance. I don't think there's quite so much pressure on Sheffield United. So if you were betting now, that would be the only option, really, to be fair. But I fancy Leeds to get the job done. Obviously, course and distance manager, been there, done it before. Which club was he at? Oh, I can't remember.
Yes, he was. And just by the way, just before we finish on Leeds, if you know and class 2 Leeds supporters as your friends, I would certainly take a long, hard look at yourself.
Long distance friends, that's fine.
and maybe start thinking about who you're friends with. Chris,
shots fired, Steve. I look forward to the comment coming back.
Chris says first outright bet of the year on Ludwig Eber in the golf. Right, that's Leeds against Sunderland. So we bet in Lafayette at plus 215 for 1 or more shot on target. Did we go? We like corners. And if you can get against cards on Sunderland, that's the way to play. I think I might play over 1.5 goal Leeds to win, or maybe Leeds and over 2.5. It's around about even money, a little bit bigger. I think that might be the play for me. Let's talk Barcelona, shall we? This is the big game in Spain tonight, and it is a big one as well here. These are the latest prices that we've got from our friends at Bet Rivers. Minus 590 Barcelona, Rayo plus 1150. So nearly 12 to 1. The tie at plus 650 here. The goal line is a big one. Over and under 3.5, minus 139 over, plus 108 under. So goals expected here. Both teams to score, yes, is minus 148. and no for plus 110. I started to look at that and think, surely knows a bet here, but Barcelona do concede. Then we got goal scorers, and obviously Lewandowski short here. We got a special on Lewandowski as well, incidentally. Head to the Bet Rivers, right? We've got a boosted price for a hat trick, effectively. He's minus 182 anytime. He's got 19 this season. Rafinha plus 102. Yamal hasn't scored as many as you think this season, but he has had one or two games off with injury earlier this campaign, plus 133. Garcia, plus 510 anytime for Rayo, did score in Rayo's last win. Then we've got Nteka plus 480 and Palazon at plus 525. This is an interesting one. We talked about it a little bit on the European show. And if you want to go back to hear Stephen James's thoughts, go back to the European show. And we've got some thoughts on the game and indeed the Serie A match tonight as well. But Jack, this was a weekend of favourites failing to win in La Liga. Bet Rivers and the rest of the bookmaking fraternity across the world will have had an awful lot of winners because 7 minus money favourites, only one of them won. That was Mallorca against Las Palmas. Real Madrid were minus 230, only drew with Osasuna. We sort of tipped that at the weekend. And Atleti, who are back to win the title, couldn't take advantage. They drew at home to Celta. There were 5 draws over the course of the weekend so far. And I don't think Barcelona at all here, Jack, are good things at minus 590. What do you think?
Agree, yeah. So that's where your draws have gone anyway. They've gone into La Liga.
Yeah, they have.
You found them in the end.
Listen, I'm going to bet, full disclosure here. So look up sunk cost fallacy as a better. If you Google that, you get an awful lot of copy on sunk cost. Because there's been no draws in the Champions League, I'm betting the ACCA every single Champions League and I'm doing my brains. Anyway, go on, Jack. Continue.
Well, we talked about the 0-0 detector. This is the disrespect klaxon, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think you
it
on the
is
same
today
page
for
as
us.
me. Yeah. For Barcelona versus Rayo Vallecano, and the Asian handicap here is +2 Rayo.
It's mad.
And it just seems to be, it has to be the play. You're always going to be uncomfortable going against Barcelona. They've scored 4 more times in La Liga, 8 times this season. They had a couple of 7s at home, haven't they? So you know what they're capable of. But I just think that this Rayo side is able to keep it tight and able to put in a very good show tonight. And let's not forget, Barcelona's last home game was a 1-0 win over Alaves. So, we've got a big opportunity. So they've also got a not bad record against Barcelona if you discount the last 2 games they played. But prior to that, they were unbeaten in 5. And they won 2 of the last 3 road head-to-heads as well. So this bet +2 on Rayo has only lost in one of the last 10 meetings between these two sides. 8 wins and 1 push as well as that loss. So it's a fair record over a long, consistent period of time. And then you drill into this season and Rayo are performing exceptionally well. They're top of the 2025 league table. They've got 4 wins and 1 draw in 2025 in La Liga. That's 3 more points than Barcelona have, albeit from a game more. But that small section at this moment in time, they're proven their worth. So unbeaten in 9, the 3-3 tie with Real Madrid in that period of time as well. So I think they proved themselves to be a very much a competitive force. So to be getting a +2 on them at a decent price at minus 105, I think has got to be a real option.
I think it's one of the best bets of the weekend. We talked about it on the show last week. Steve put it up initially, so I'll give him credit for flagging it up. He likes +2 on Rayo as well. All those stats that you mentioned, I looked at today and I just thought every single number, every single metric, you just think Rayo are gonna get something here. The problem is, it is Barcelona, and you can look very foolish because they put 7 past teams, in recent games, and it could get away from you. It's going to be interesting what the team uses as well for Barcelona, because I was just looking at some of the copy from a lot of the Barcelona sites. Ronald Araujo, he is in the squad. He did come off with an injury, an ankle problem against Sevilla, a game that they won last time out. He's trained away from the squad, I'm being told, but he's in the squad to play. And Barcelona's sort of mini upswing, because they're a little bit inconsistent earlier this season. You mentioned that they've thrown in some poor performances against some poor teams. They've lost to Leganés, Santa Las Palmas at home, and he didn't play in those games. He missed the first 5 months of the season. He's their captain, Uruguayan defender, terrific player. Obviously, they've still got a lot of firepower going forward. But if he doesn't play, it'd be more of it. If he does play, I don't think it's an issue. I'd still going to bet him +2. I looked at trying to get with other sort of bets in. I just think this is probably one of the bets of the night to me. So as far as the community bet is concerned, I'm playing it, Jack's playing it, Steve's playing it, we're all playing it. But I suspect that many might not follow us. There's a lot you're talking about the Genoa Venezia again. We'll get to that. Bill says, have we got any bets on that one? Johnson says Genoa have been good price since Vieira took over. Venezia sold their leading scorer last month. Effie says Barcelona on the money line. This is it. You see, people get drawn into Barcelona. Effie, Barcelona money line, team total over 2.5 at -130. It's all about getting creative when Barcelona are very short, if you're a Barcelona fan. FJ Football says, greetings, had a terrible Premier League Saturday, but made up for it on Sunday. Genoa Leeds double tonight. Keep it simple. Effie says, too big of an opportunity for Barcelona. Obviously, if they do win, they can go top of the league because their goal difference is better, isn't it? I mean, that is a good point. I see what you're saying. FGA says, could ask Galatasaray if being greedy, staying away from the Barca game. Effie says, Araujo not playing tonight. Well, that's a plus for us, I would suggest here. We're going to go +2, about -105. Watch out for that Lewandowski special that's on the Bet Rivers site. In terms of where the money's been going here, 98% of the cash and 98% of the tickets have gone on Barcelona. Over and under, and it's a 3.5 line here, 67% of the money and 74% of the tickets on over. We've had a $2,000 play on Barca and also a near $1,000 play on Rayo, under 3.5 shots on target. It's just one of those bets, Jack, that could go horribly wrong, and we can look like massive mugs, not for the first time this season.
I was going to say,
But there's. I mean, Rayo are going for a European place. They're banging form, as you mentioned before. I just looked at some of the sort of match reports recently. They keep it tight. They're used to defending. They look to break. They use their wingers.
Yeah,
I think they can. I think at worst we'll get our money back. Well, at worst we can.
Sometimes you. Yeah, I think sometimes you've got to put yourself in that position. If you think there's value in a play, it's generally quite often you're putting yourself on a value play, knowing that it's got a lot of risk about it. As far as that, as you say, you could end up with Barcelona winning this 5-1, something like that. So, you say you break things down. They've got the style of play that suits. They've got the form that is in the book. I think sometimes you look last season, they ended the campaign horrifically badly. They were terrible at the back end of last season, and their last road game last season was Barcelona, and they lost it 3-0. So I just wonder if a little bit of sort of kind of, not the opposite of recency bias, but kind of just a template. Yeah. Oh yeah, Barcelona are going to win, and that's all set up for you. But so you break it down. They've only lost by 2 goals once this season. The 3-1 home loss to Las Palmas. The reverse was only 2-1 to Barcelona, so that would cash in that. And when you break down their away record since that 3-0 defeat against Barcelona, this bet's undefeated in 16 road trips across all competitions for Rayo, winning 15 of them and just getting one push. And that was against, I think, Real Sociedad in the cup cup tie recently. Yeah. So absolutely everything stands up for scrutiny to say they can absolutely put a show in tonight and make it very tough for Barcelona at least. And as we've said, Barcelona just need to go and get the job done. They don't need to go and win this by 2,
which
3,
is what they did
goals.
against Alaves last time. In the last home game.
Absolutely.
Paul, it's +2 is the Asian line, and it's it's around about even money. The last I looked, I mean, you could go, you can get that little quarter as well if you want for a little bit shorter. It's completely up to you, but that's where we're going to play. Myself, Jack, Steve, we're all on. And Duncan says, "Yeah, look, we're here to gamble. Strap yourself in." Absolutely. Final preview, which is in Serie A tonight, and again, it's another game that we looked at on the European show because Steve put up a lean. He put up a lean in the Barcelona game as well, which was +2 on Rayo, and Steve also liked to lean in this game. This is the latest market. Genoa -118, tie +220. Venezia are the outsiders +375. Under and over here +130. Over -177, short for unders. Both teams to score. No, I think a lot of people will be looking at that at -143. Morton Thorsby, we're not 100% certain that he's going to play. I think he's a little bit of a doubt for Genoa. Penamonte is +215 to score at any time. And then we go Thorsby if he does play, 540. Massini 650. Then the Venezia players, Gianluca Busio, really like him as a footballer. I mean, he's not really a goal scorer; he's more of a playmaker. He's came through at Sporting Kansas City. Was a brilliant player at SKC in Major League Soccer before making the move to Italy a few years ago, and he's done well for them both in Serie A and in the second tier. What do we fancy here then? Look, we know that Steve went for Genoa on the money line. I'm not quite sure if he's a big Patrick Vieira fan or not, Steve. He sort of, I don't know. It's not in glowing terms that he talks about him, but he just says, look, when he comes into a club, he's a manager. You know what you're going to get from. They're not going to be exciting. You can look at unders. You can look at both teams to score no, and he's generally got it right with Patrick's Genoa side. I mean, they've not won a lot since he's come in. That's my only doubt. But the opposition here, Jack, is pretty poor. They're in the relegation zone.
It is. There's some real nice recent form lines that you can draw from, which I quite like. But absolutely with Steve on the fact that when you get a new manager come in, research the manager, it can give you some really good opportunities for those ones that you just know what you get. And so Patrick Vieira tends to be a manager you know what you're going to get from. That's all you ask is a better really that you can go in and get involved in that. So I've been the last preview. I've gone for a varying sliding scale here. If you want to play kind of safe and have a bigger bet on a minus money shot, then I've got that, and I've gone up to a plus 360 shot for those that just want to have an interest and a smaller stake at a better price. So all on the same theme. But yeah, Genoa are backable here. I think the money's come from a bit, hasn't it, over the last few days. You said they have not won many under Patrick Vieira, but they haven't lost many either. They only lost 3 of 12. 2 of those 3 were away from home as well. So they'll be glad to get on home soil where they've won their last 2. And this is where the form line comes into it. Those 2 sides sandwich Venezia at the bottom of the league at the moment. And Venezia are second from bottom. The 2 wins for Genoa against Parma and Monza. And they did win them both to 0 as well. So you look at the form table or you look at the home and away table, Venezia are the worst travellers in Serie A. They've not won yet. The only side not to win in Serie A. They've drawn 4 and lost 8 of those games. And the 2 sides directly above them in that form table are Monza and Parma. So it all kind of links in nicely as to what to expect there. The reason they've got a terrible road record is that no sides conceded more goals than them, 24. And only Lecce have scored fewer than them on the road. So I say it looks all set up here for what we're talking about. A home win, probably low scoring, and possibly to 0. So we could put all those together and then say you've got in minus 121 if you just want to play it safe and go with a Genoa win. If you want to add in the comfort, under 3.5 goals to get you to plus money, that gets you to plus 120. So you're obviously getting a 1-0, 2-0, 3-0 and 2-1 on your side there. If you don't think Venezia have got it in them to score against a fairly tight Genoa side at home at this moment under Vieira, then you can do a win to 0. One-click wonder at the end of the tab there on the Bet Rivers website at plus 170. And the big one is tie at half-time, Genoa at full-time at plus 360. And the main reason behind that is that Genoa have only scored 3 first-half goals under Patrick Vieira since he came to the club in those 12 fixtures. And only 1 in the last 10. So they're tending to be slow starters into the games and then getting it done towards the end. So if you think that is a trend that can follow, tie half time, Genoa full time at plus 360.
I like that. I like the last one. I mean, there's so many games, isn't it, that they've tied at half time. And I don't think they've been in front in any of their home games in Serie A this season. They've only scored a couple of goals at home in the first half. They're not a great team to watch. My advice tonight is watch the Barcelona game and just have flash score for the Genoa game, or maybe watch the league game. Leeds is live on Bet Rivers app, as is the Barcelona game as well. Odds Johnson was talking about the player that's left. I was just taking a quick look at that. Poyampalo used to be at Leverkusen. I mean, he's dropped down a division. He's left Venezia, which is a bit of a surprise. 6 goals this season, but he's left. So that's a bit of a negative for Venezia supporters and backers. So that's a few different ways to get with Genoa tonight. We like that one. On the money line, 95% of the money, 92% of the tickets on Genoa. Over and unders, most on overs here. 79% of the money, 60% of the tickets on overs as well. $500 play on Genoa, -1 on the Asian handicap. That's a bit uncomfortable. Plus 160. That's an interesting one, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, I think they'll win. I mean, I looked at -1 for the Leeds game as well, which was about -110, I think. Because I mean, Leeds are going to win tonight, aren't they, Jack? I mean, that's the thing. Let's just recap. What's your bets in the Leeds game? Rattle through your Leeds bets.
Yeah, so we'll go in with Enzo Lefebvre. Yeah, Lefebvre. Shot on target plus 215. I said, if you can play at the same game parlay, Leeds most corners, Sunderland most cards at +115. If not, let's go with the Leeds corner handicap, depending on your taste, but a 0-3 start. So Sunderland start with 3 corners was, what was I say, -105, something like that.
Yeah.
So that's the bets there. Barcelona Vallecano was Rayo +2 on the Asian handicap at -105. If you did want Barcelona, I suggest a plus money play on Barcelona is Barcelona to win and both teams to score. So if you do want to side with Barcelona, that's a plus money option. We're not on that camp though. We're firmly in the Rayo camp. And then finally, Genoa versus Venezia, money line at -121. Genoa to win and under 3.5 goals at +120, or the win to nil at +170, or tie Genoa +360, depending on what you fancy in there.
Manin's just been on, says, what price would you be looking at for Leeds most corners, Sunderland most cards? Did you work out the double for that? The same game parlay? What was it again?
It was, +115.
There you go. Plus money, Maninda, if you're looking at, if you can bet on the cards along with the corners. So Sunderland most cards and Leeds most corners. Look, some really good betting heats set tonight. You can watch a lot of them on the Bet Rivers app if you are stateside. That wraps it up from Oz. Just to let you know that over the course of the week, Champions League this week is going to be Steve and Will tomorrow, and Stephen Lewis on Wednesday. I'm going to be backing the draw in every single Champions League game. I'm having the ACCA. It's got to come good at some stage, Jack. Yeah, I might go skin, and then suddenly it'll be
the week
in a night, and I'll miss the ACCA in that. Yeah. Jack, thanks for your company. We're back, of course, on Thursday for the Premier League show. But that is your lot from us all for today. Go well today. The community bet. Well, it's not really community bet because no one else likes it on the comments. Myself, Steve, we're all playing +2 Rayo tonight. That's our bet. Hopefully you can join us. We'll be cashing some tickets tonight. It's Steve and Will tomorrow in the Champions League. That's your lot. Good night.